It was the worst of times. You decided to cut costs, sell businesses and reduce employees. You cooked sour and you thought it was slowly beginning to look bright. Think again. Did you forget to add a few cubes of sugar to your recipe of success? Hello and welcome to Lessons in Excellence, the Indian story. In a changing business world, growth is all about learning. Learning from your mistakes and learning from others. In these lessons, we will learn about the stories of people and companies who have fought and acted differently. And keeping us company on this journey, we have management guru Sumantra Ghoshal, Professor of Strategic Leadership at the London Business School, and Geeta Piramal, Managing Editor of The Smart Manager. Our lesson today is on cooking sweet and sour.
Perhaps no one knows the recipe for cooking sweet and sour better than Jack Welch. As CEO of GE, his restructuring spree earned him the nickname Neutron Jack. The sour ingredients? More than 100,000 employees retrenched. Over $6 billion worth of business divested. But he sweetened the brew with some inorganic growth. A spate of acquisitions and significant mergers, with Bosch in Germany, Fuji in Japan and GEC in the UK, giving GE a new lease of life, a growth of $2 billion a year during his tenure. The formula: rationalize and revitalize.
You, in your works, have said revitalization is, rationalization is sour and revitalization is sweet. Take us through this argument.
It is actually very simple. Think about a little garden. You have a little plot of land, you want to make a little garden. You want lovely roses, big, fragrant roses. You got to fertilize the rose plants, you got to put water, you got to take care of it, perhaps even love it. At the same time, you have to continuously weed out all the underbrush, the undergrowth. That weeding out process is absolutely as important and essential in getting wonderful roses as the loving, the fertilizing, the watering. The same in business. No matter what you do, ultimately in business, you will have weeds in your organization. Products you'd have experimented with, some that would have been successful in the past, a factory that was once competitive, now is not. Weeds will inevitably happen.
That's the cooking sour bit, that you have to take out those weeds, throw those products out.
To build the business, to build the roses, to build the new product line. It's resources. In the garden, the resource is land. And you want the best use of that soil. In business, you have resources, whether it's your capital, your talent, your technology. You want to get the most out of it. If those are all drained away in terms of products or businesses that are not making the full use of them, at the end, you're not getting the most bang for the buck you have. Okay, it's as simple as that.
The words used are that these are symbiotic, but if I can understand from what Sumantra said, they almost seem to be mutually exclusive. You can't do the two together.
But you absolutely do need them together, because on the one hand, you need money, you need resources, you need growth. Now, when you are trying to capture the resources, you are rationalizing. That means sometimes you have to close down plants, sometimes you have to let off people, you have to sell businesses. At the same time, you need to invest this. And that's how the growth comes. At the same time, the growth needs hope, energy, satisfaction, and the need and the desire to keep on investing in the rationalization, the sour part. So the sweet is needed to sweeten the sour.
How is it that it should also be thinking of growth? I mean, should it not first fix the problem and then go for growth?
This is, if I say, what's the most important single difference I have seen of companies that are able to build sustainable high performance versus those that don't. I think this is the single most important reason. For most companies and to most managers, these two indeed appear to be mutually exclusive. So you say, yeah, we all want growth, but right now it's all about productivity.
Yeah, right now I've got a problem.
Or you say, we are a growth company, we grow. The difference of companies that actually achieve it is they recognize that not only are the two not mutually incompatible, that they are completely symbiotic. The point Geeta just made, there is an instrumental resource side of the story, but there's also an emotional side of the story. The resource side is, it is the cutting that gives the money, the talent, people to invest into growth. But it also gives legitimacy. Legitimacy in the capital markets. They understand that, yes, you're taking action for productivity. Legitimacy with customers. Ultimately, even legitimacy with employees.
You've also talked about how GE and Westinghouse did this differently. Jack Welch at GE did the cooking of sweet and sour together. Westinghouse did only the sour. Take us through that.
Imagine this, and this tells all. A new CEO of Westinghouse comes in, Douglas Danforth. He has his first meeting with his 300 senior managers. First meeting. And the statement he makes is, I will sack my mother if she doesn't meet the budget. Okay. Being the 300 people in the floor, what does it do to you? That's the only message that he gives. Productivity, we shall close businesses, we shall sell our plants, we shall sack. In that same presentation, he said, in 1 year's time, I do not expect to see more than 50% of you here, in a very macho way. I am the tough manager. That does not engage the true passion of those people.
So what happened to Westinghouse?
So you get into that, you have results. You don't fully like your results. Your profitability is not enough, return on capital employed is not enough. So you cut resources, right? You sell plants, close factories, sack people. There is a temporary improvement of performance, because indeed a part of it goes to the bottom line. But then the underlying problems that cause the bad results are often not solved simply by cutting. So again you get into problem, again you cut, and you go round and round a negative spiral. This is what happened to Westinghouse.
And Neutron Jack at GE did it different?
Neutron GE, there is always a problem talking about Jack Welch. Last time I was showing a video of Jack Welch. Some students in my class said, isn't the guy dead yet? There's been overexposure, but I think we singularly underestimated the power of what he did. In the worst period, he got the Neutron Jack reputation in the first half of the 80s. If you take the numbers are fantastic. GE had 320,000 employees when he takes over. And he's not taking over a company in trouble. He's taking over the company, which 81, the year he takes over, is rated in the Fortune polls as the best managed industrial company in the United States, which for most Americans mean in the world. So the company you're taking over is the best managed company, 310,000 employees. About 120 go away by divestment. Around 118 come in through acquisition. So that's a wash. Of the remaining, 130,000 people leave the company. So people say Neutron Jack. Look at what he did. First, 130,000 people left, had a better package than any other company in the United States ever had, way beyond low. As much as possible for soft landing for those people, career training, all of that. Second thing he did is, while he's selling off one set of businesses, refocusing the portfolio, at the same time he's investing in other set of businesses. Huge investments in the portfolio that remains through alliances, through acquisitions, through internationalization, buying in Europe, investing in Asia. So all the time, while he's cutting some, he's investing in others at the level of people. While he's cutting these people, the highest investment GE has made in training and development of managers is also at that time. So whether it's people, whether it is business, right through, the two sides work together.
It's negative and positive
all the time together.
Geeta, Bajaj, yes.
Yes, actually I just want to interrupt over there, because if you really look at the really excellent companies in India, if you take the Reliance, if you take Hindustan Lever, the growth is good. Okay, Hindustan Lever, maybe it's a little slower right now, but traditionally it's been a high growth company. You have Reliance, which is a very high growth company, and what did they do at the back end every time? They're cutting all the time. The Hindustan Lever, I think, writes off 250 crores plus every year. They're constantly cleaning up. Reliance, Mukesh Ambani has a phrase, sweat technology, basically making the most out of your technology, making the most out of your machinery. There's this continuous drive on operations, operational efficiency at every level.
Welcome back. The underlying lesson is both simple and universal. Superior corporate performance is based on the ability to manage the tension between two symbiotic forces, the need for rationalization and the need for revitalization.
Efficiency and productivity are twin growth drivers at Reliance. The company's activity ratios are industry benchmarks. Employee cost is 4% of revenues against 15 to 20% for its competitors. Its sales and distribution cost at 3% of revenues is 30% lower than the global average. Reliance's stranglehold on market leadership is fueled by its late founder's clear growth vision.
So, Mantra, in this whole context of cooking sweet and sour, you made a fairly sharp distinction between profitable growth and unprofitable growth. Take us through that argument.
Take an example. The Korean chaebols. If you actually see Samsung or LG or Daewoo or Hyundai, these are very, very strong companies, well-managed companies, really committed people. They're all about growth. For example, in 2000, what LG was doing, in 1990, what LG was doing was, they called it in a vision, Leap 2005, that we will become 10 times in 10 years. It is all about growth. The problem was the return on capital employed kept on coming down in the search for growth. Ultimately, these companies, really faced trouble. Debt equity went up to 5:1. With no profit, the capital markets don't reward you, so your price earnings go down, your stock price goes down. Finally, with the Asian crisis, all of these Korean chaebols confronted the problems that built for themselves with unprofitable growth. That was the problem of LG, Samsung.
Now, when you're looking at a business, is this a very formal construction of the very thumb rule that businessmen have, that you should invest in growth only if your business is throwing up cash?
No, that may be simplistic, because in that assumption, there is a feeling that a company is a closed system. A company is not a closed system. There is a capital market outside it. If you have exciting growth opportunities, much better than anybody else, you should use the capital market, both for debt and for equity, to exploit those opportunities. You are doing good for the company. You are doing good for the shareholders. It is not that you are limited to only the cash you can generate. That's a capital market free conceptualization. However, the basic rule remains: you invest as long as, over time, the returns meet a certain set of expectations. If they don't meet those expectations, if your returns are lower, then ultimately you have both a cash problem inside, your debt equity keeps on going up, and you have a capital market problem outside, because capital markets are looking at you.
It's a double whammy then.
It's a double whammy. And you get stuck in the double whammy, and you can't easily get out because you have invested. It's like a white elephant that is sitting there. So by the time you begin to feel the pinch, your ability to get out of it becomes even less. So we say, look back, we say profitable growth. Basically, it's a common business sense that says, do I see what happened to the dot-coms? We saw the ideal example of this in the dot-coms. No profits. There's this mantra, it's only growth. Everybody went for growth.
But they got such cheap capital. Where I'm trying to understand this argument is, on the one hand, you've got the simplistic argument that only grow if your business is throwing up cash. On the other extreme were the dot-coms, which got such cheap capital that they just blew it up in that quest for illusory growth. Where is the reality?
The thumb rule is pure common sense. It is net present value of all future cash flows, which basically says, do you have a business model? Your business model may say, first 3 years is cash negative, 4th year we break even, 5th year onwards we start making money, but then we make a lot of money, it is positive NPV. We ultimately are creating wealth. Capital market will understand it. As long as you can support that investment over time, great business. But you have to have a business model so that you understand that this business is worth doing in terms of the returns it generates over a certain period of time. And when you lose track of a business model and all you have is, growth is good and we go for growth without recognizing the cost of that growth when the money comes back, which a businessman does, you land in trouble.
And that's when you're saying the downward spiral.
You get into the spiral, downward spiral.
Cooking sweet and sour was a way of life for Arvind Mills. Between 1994 and 96, it grew at an average of 30% per annum to become the world's largest denim producer. At the same time, it enhanced its labor productivity by 20%, often with an unavoidable consequence: job cuts, and thus cooking sour.
Sumantra, in cooking sour, what's the most contentious issue? It is a difficult process to cut things. What's the most contentious?
You know, at one level, of course, it is simply that nobody wants to cut, right? It's sort of a human nature.
It's a difficult decision.
It's a difficult thing,
Put it
and
back.
so on. But I think if I look at which managers can and which managers can't, I think at the end, the most important distinction, the most important battle a manager has to fight to be able to learn to cook sweet and sour is to sort out personally a sense of self-image and identity. Who am I? And it's managers, many of them, are liberal people. Growth is wonderful, and the image they take of themselves, and in India it's a particular issue, because what you are going to cut is either something your grandfather built or your father built, or for entrepreneurs it's something you have yourself built. It is this emotional side that's the biggest barrier. Intellectually, every manager understands the need for cooking sweet and sour. That's never the problem. The problem is emotional. Intellectually understanding the need to cut, they don't, because they get stuck emotionally. And the real solution lies in being self-reflective enough to not to deny the emotions. It is painful to cut. Suffer the pain, acknowledge the pain, and to sort out your own image in your own mind. I think that's the barrier managers have to cross to be able to do what they know they need to do. Trouble is they don't often do it.
Okay, in cooking sweets, there are
Sorry,
a couple of...
Raghav, I'm going to just cut in over here. Sumantra talked about entrepreneurs, he talked about family business, but we were together in a bank, a government bank, a PSU, and you had this terrible feeling amongst the managers over there that I'm in this job for a couple of years at most. I really don't want to put all these black marks against people. I really don't want this guy to lose his job just because of me. I'm out of here soon. He's got children, he's got family. I'm a responsible person. I don't want this person to lose his job.
Cooking sweet is the more exciting part of the job. That's the one, the rush of adrenaline. You've got extra money, you've got building up capacity, building up business plans. Is there a danger that you can overcook the sweet? You can even get diabetes in this cooking sweet. We're back into this.
You know, more companies have gone bankrupt because of their failure to manage growth than have gone bankrupt because of their failure to manage decline. There is this notion somehow managing growth is easy, just put some plant. Managing growth is a very, very tough process. And it's back to the conversations about profitable growth. It is an extremely difficult job. I mean, how many cases of diabetes? .coms are cases of diabetes. If you talk about diabetes, oh, it's all that growth that matters. Somewhere it will all work out. It doesn't. So absolutely, there is a huge problem of diabetes. The managing growth is not just optimism, not just exuberance, not just, managing growth is a very tough process. Look at India. I think Reliance has managed growth outstandingly well. I think Infosys has managed growth outstandingly well.
Like Infosys, SR Steel rose to industry leadership in the late 80s to become one of India's biggest players in the steel industry. Yet, it was an underachiever, an example of a company that concentrated only on growth without increasing productivity. The 3,300 crore rupee conglomerate started with a bang with a stock price of 124 rupees in 1994, but today is struggling to keep pace with a current year high of 15 rupees in July 2002.
But there are the examples of in your book, for instance, you talked of the SR group, which went into an overgrowth mode and landed in trouble.
We have seen the problems SR faced at that time. And trouble is, hubris is an amazing thing in human life. How many cases have we seen? A company starts, it grows well, it grows profitably, it grows with muscle. But then it starts saying, we can grow. And then at some point, they lose control over the growth process and get into what you just call diabetic growth, which is uncontrolled growth.
In the next episode, we take a look at how Bajaj Auto was revitalized after a period of relative decline when it faced competition for the first time in the early 90s. And meet the man who cooked sweet and sour at Bajaj Auto, Rahul Bajaj.
This is not a debating society. He should not be in an ivory tower. He must listen to everybody. listen, 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 but he decides. There's no voting. There's still a big human cost. The person came and told me, who have been with me 25 years, Rahul Saab, my family thought, my children thought, my wife thought, I was a highly competent manager. What do I tell them now? Why have I been asked to go home? I understand that you are not saying I am bad. You are just saying we have too many people. You have to restructure. I realize that, but I can't show my face at home. There are different ways of saying it. And I was crying.